Okay, I definitely want to thank Charity. That was an awesome segue into kind of talking about the hierarchy of our needs and what we look like as parents that deal with children with disabilities. So thank you for that. As a parent that actually has a child with a disability, my name is Hannah Jackson, and I will be presenting to you guys today just the process of what it looks like as we are going through that. So again, Charity, thank you. That was an awesome segue, as I know that it is important for us to kind of have all of those things met so that we can efficiently do our jobs with parents. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was the process. So once I know that my child has been diagnosed with a disability and I'm having some questions about what are next steps, I just kind of outlined some important things that I really wanted families to understand as they begin to support their children. And so we really want parents to understand first that you are your child's greatest advocate. And so as you begin to learn more information about what your child needs, you can better partner with schools. Our organization is called Reagan's Voice, and we are a community-based organization that helps parents understand the process. So the first thing that we really try to tell parents is that you want to meet with the school. So as you decide that, there's some things that are going on, and we typically know that some things that happen inside of the classroom look very different at home. And so what we want to do is build a streamline to help our school understand what's happening at home and vice versa so that we can able to support. Once we meet with the school, I always tell parents to create an action plan. So when you're going into the school system, already have kind of planned out what you do as a parent every day and your plan of action to get your student what they need. The other biggest piece is follow-up. And so once the school systems are giving you information, a lot of caregivers or providers are giving you information, it is so important that you follow through with that information. It makes a world of difference for your child, especially a child with a disability, because it gives you access and resources to ways that you would not normally have. The other big thing for us is documentation is better than conversation. So when we were going through this process, for those I know it may be a little difficult to see, but I created a notebook that gave me all of everything that had to do with my daughter Reagan. And so what this notebook did was provided a way for when I went in to actually meet with the school, create my plan, and do my follow-up. I've designed it where it has all of the months of the year, and then it has all of the documentation that she had, every grade that she received, even the ones that were not favorable, because it helps me to gain data. And so this data helps me to help the school come up with a plan. So I always tell parents that you must keep documentation. Remember, if you learned nothing else from me today, that documentation is better than conversation. And then knowing your rights. So it's huge to know your rights. And so a lot of parents go in, and we know that having a special education background, I felt very comfortable going into the meetings because I was amongst people that did exactly what I did. But thinking at it as a parent, you don't know. And so sometimes you feel like this little small fish in this pond of sharks. And so what we want to be able to do is help parents understand and know their rights. So the more that you know, the more prepared you are. And so whether it's dealing with children with autism, children with ADHD, children that have language-based disorders, children that have behavioral issues, you want to know your child's specific disability and how it impacts them so that you come in knowing your rights as a parent with a child with that disability so that you can partner with the school. So then that's just what's next. So I did, all of these things are happening, school has started, we're beginning the process, and so what I always tell parents that the best thing to do, especially if you're still learning about your child's disability and still learning about the different avenues that you need to take, is get advice. Like, it never hurts to get advice on what you see is happening in your child's school, what's happening at home, and what are your next steps. And so I always tell parents, just like we, go through the medical aspect, if we go to one doctor and we get advice, we always typically go to maybe another if we're unsure about what's going on, just to get a second opinion. So even though the school system may be providing you with a plan that they're saying is definitely going to work with your child, I would encourage parents to search an outside source, such as going to see an educational consultant, going to see an advocate that can really break down the process for you, because you want to just come in equipped. And so getting the advice is what you need to do. Follow through. you have to follow through. Once you've been given the information, you need to go back to the school system if there's something that there's a discrepancy there. Following through to make sure that things are there is important. One is to kind of go through with follow through is to always keep the documentation. So if they're telling you that these things are happening for your child, you must do a check-in. Like you have to, and then speak with your child to see if these things are actually taking place. And then the last thing is school programming. So we know that children with disabilities do not fit in a box. And so sometimes our children are triangles. And in the school system, it's a box. And so they try to fit the triangle inside of the box or the triangle inside of the circle, and it just doesn't work. And so we as parents are left to feel like, well, maybe my child will never be normal, whatever that is, and they will never feel like they can fit into a place. And so school programming really gives parents the opportunity to really see if this is the best fit for my child. Because what we do know, research has shown, what we know as educators is that once children get the correct programming, they soar. And so what I tell all of my parents is that inside of every struggling student lives a successful one. And so our jobs as educators, as parents, as advocates, as educational consultants, is finding the program that lets those children that have difficulties soar and become productive. And just to kind of touch back, this is my last slide. We are a community-based organization called Reagan's Voice, named after my daughter who has ADHD and a language-based disorder. And what our organization does is help families understand the process a little better and get to the point where parents can become educated. So not only do we use this resource for children, we also use it for parents. And as you guys are reviewing the slide, this is my mistake, so this should say .com and not a comma there. And my telephone number should be a 0 added there, so it is actually 202-750-0453. So I'll make that correction, and when we get uploaded, we'll have that. And so what our organization does is just help families. We use it for resources. We have great resources that we want to be able to share with families and parents so they can understand the process a little better. And so if you guys have any additional concerns, or you want to just speak with someone that understands the process a little better, if you, our organization looks over IEPs, we look over behavioral intervention plans, and we just really want to partner with parents as they go through the process. So thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate it. Thank you for that. I'm going to change that in there. I'm going to do that now. So when you bring this out,
is it .org or .com?
No, it's .org. It is .org. Yeah. So we, for anybody else, as you guys are starting, if you want to own your own domain name, if you go to GoDaddy.com, you can own your own domain. So I own Reagan at ReaganSports.org. And we did .org because we wanted to push up a bit.
Yes, that's the first.
Yeah.
That's great. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ashley, and I'm here to speak with you on the importance of transition as it relates to your students exiting school and entering adult programs possibly. So as of April last year, DDA has changed the way in which children in Montgomery County are serviced through resource programs. Everyone should have received a letter, and it's up here as you can see, and it just basically states that in Montgomery County there are two main resource providers that your students will come in contact with. And depending on their age, by now you should have been contacted by a resource provider. So that is the significance of this letter, and I will give out my information at the end if you haven't received this to let you know how you can come in contact with them. The second part that I wanted to bring up was the transitioning youth timeline. So as it pertains to your student exiting, there are certain processes in which you need to go about, and this slide, there's actually 2 pages, lets you know from the age of 18 the things that you need to do until your child exits at the age of 21. I wanted to ask if there were any questions, if people were aware of these things, but the thing that you need to know that's most important as your student turns child turns 13, 14, that they should apply to DDA, because that is how everything will work from the time that they are 14 until the time that they exit.
And is DDA just something in Montgomery County?
No, DDA is Maryland-based through the whole state. There are also things that I wanted to mention, important things that you want to know exiting or leaving the working on your IEP and exiting school. The exit document is very important to be aware of, the types of services that you need to receive, and the IEP implementation in terms of things that you need to know before exiting. Is my card going to be available? If you have any questions about the DDA services, it'll be on the website and you can contact me there.